Cool. So yeah, just two quick updates. The Climate Central, we got a verbal agreement through email about the no-cost extension. This is just some bookkeeping stuff so that we can spend it for the next couple months. I have a letter out that I think has to come from Nick that I sent him a draft, and we're just waiting from him. He's been, I think, on the road, but Steffi and I are on it, so hopefully we'll get that wrapped up soon. And then, yeah, so we still have that job description. I think it's basically done. If anyone wants to do like a last call to review it. Otherwise, if we have this group's sign off on it, that we can go to send it off to the steering committee, because I think they need to approve it. Then we can sort of move to get that, on some job boards and things like that. I also do need to research that some of the, diversity job boards I think are paid, and I'm just wondering where to get the budget for that too. I'm assuming there's money in unrestricted funds that should go to that, but we also need to, just get give them heads up on that and approval. Otherwise, yeah. Totally. Do you have any updates?
Sure. Well, the website monitoring team released a report today. It documents the removal of 2 pages from the EPA's website, including one about international priorities and another about international grants and cooperation. It's not, if any of you are following this, you're not going to be surprised to learn that part of the international priorities included climate change, but it also included kind of many other environmental issues. The pages have been down for more than 5 months now, while the EPA has been engaged in international relations, and the administrator has been traveling around the world to many different countries, including Morocco, Japan, Israel. So the Discord is strange that they don't have international priorities up, but they are engaged. Anyway, it's gotten some pickup. Politico wrote about a newsletter, and Think Progress wrote it up in an article. So all in all, a kind of a solid release and an important contribution, I think. Other than that, kind of more reports in the pipeline. I think there's going to be a call out for volunteers coming up pretty soon. So maybe when that happens, just appreciate any help amplifying, just like a little block of text to send out to your networks. Other than that, I don't think there's anything imminently pressing.
Cool, thanks, Toli. Oh, and sorry, I introduced Francis, who's joined the call. I think this is the first Wednesday call he's been able to join, but I met Francis at the Ethics of Web Archiving conference maybe almost a month ago, and he's been helping out with the Ansible DevOps stuff, which is super helpful. And he works with Ed Summers on the DocNow project. So he's coming from some really cool projects. I don't want to put you on the spot, Francis, but if a wave is good enough for you, you want to say hi, that's cool too.
Hello. I'm working with Dan right now. Actually, I'm not doing a lot of work with Dan. I'm just reviewing what Dan has done to see if there's things that I can improve. And thus far, it's scarce. There's very little things that I think that I can improve.
That is a generous assessment, though. But we're very happy to have Francis on board.
Yeah, we needed the DevOps grown up in the room.
The physicists are running the asylum.
Yeah. Right. So thanks, Francis. Okay. So with that, we can jump into some dev updates. I don't have much to report. The biggest thing I've been working on the system sketches, and they're in constant revision. So, there's always going to be, I've been numbering the versions. So just look for the highest number. I think we're on version 3, but I got Kevin's feedback on stuff, and I got some stuff from Dan as well. I haven't incorporated those yet, but those are next on my list, Dan. So thanks for those. And then we'll just sort of keep on trying to polish until they're sort of in a stable, accurate state, and figure out a way to get them into we can post them into the repos when we feel like they're ready. Cool. Does anyone else go next? Okay.
Yeah, just quickly, been working with Ray. I'm probably gonna do some drawing sketches of some ideas I had too, now that I'm thinking about it more and more, and then that can help. And then I just have one PR pending review. It's trying to unblock the include versions for DB. So basically getting the versions from the actual versions API endpoint instead of from the pages. I found a way that kind of works, but I don't know if it's the most efficient way. So Rob had some ideas, and I was just waiting for some feedback. But I looked at iterators more in JavaScript, so I might try a different approach. But I think if nobody has anything to say, I think it would work. It'll work fine just to unblock things if we just needed to merge. But I don't know. Dan, you have something to say?
That seems reasonable. I was going to say I spent a lot of time thinking about iterator protocols and would be willing to try and help unblock that if Rob doesn't have time to comment. But I like what you just said of let's merge and iterate. I think the concern that Rob flagged mostly has to do with scalability, right? Of listifying the entire result set. And that's going to be a problem that grows over time. So let's get that merged before the next meeting either way.
Okay.
That sounds good. Yeah, I think we can go for better than yesterday and then improve it afterwards. Cool. Thanks, Kevin.
Oh, am I next?
Yeah, there's an order, but you can go next. I mean.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Pat, never mind. Pat's next. Go ahead, Pat.
Sure.
I just got back. I don't know. I think I will pass until I jump
Oh,
in.
sorry. Just dev updates. What did you do this week?
I was just working on just going through the setup and kind of spent some time trying to I don't know. I think I always spend too much time organizing thoughts sometimes. I wonder if I was in person, if it would all just come out a lot quicker. But you saw the results. Maybe some people saw the results in the issue format that I was experimenting with facts, feelings, and ideas. I think there's one in the UI repo and one in the DB repo. But yeah, it was just mostly just setup. I was mostly working around then, and then I've been a little working on other things since then. That's me. Onboarding, essentially. Setup. Docs.
Awesome. Yeah, we need it too. So it's all part of the documentation effort, which is super helpful. Cool. So, Dan, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, sure. Just a straight thought piggybacking off of what Pat just said, something that I sort of remembered as you were talking about how hard it is to get all this set up. It is sort of unavoidably complicated. As we were talking about with Francis recently too, there's a lot of pieces to get set up. And it might be interesting to think about in the context of a hack night. Do you want to try and get the whole app set up on someone's laptop? Or if they're going to focus on diffing algorithms, do they just need to install processing? We have a test suite with some example data in it so that the web monitoring processing test suite can be run without the DB installed, for example. And so we might explore, if you only have one evening with someone, I wonder if we'll ever get the installation time down to less than one evening, just because there's always local issues if somebody's Postgres installation is broken or Node is fighting back, whatever. What do you think of that, Pat?
For what it's worth, I was kind of going down that path of trying to get JSON extensions working in SQLite 3, just a simple. Anyway, I was trying to, instead of sending things to Heroku, making the local setup with a little, I don't know, smaller tools, I guess. But I didn't have any luck with that route. Maybe someone could have told me I wouldn't have had luck, but I tried it anyway.
Yeah, well, we'll take it offline, but there's some stuff that's sort of sketched out that might help you. And I sort of forgot that it was connected to what you were thinking about until now. But we postponed that to another discussion. This week, reviewed Rob's PR. He actually put in 3 pull requests addressing the thing that we discussed at length last time. You could, when you're dealing with duplicates, you could, when you import them, just drop them, or you could try to mark duplicates as such in the database so that when analysts load them up, they don't get the duplicates. The second approach is more thorough. Rob realized in the implementation that they're not actually conflicting in any way, so you could just make both possible. I think we all agree that we like the more thorough one better, but it's good to have the option in case we run into bugs or problems. So I think we should go ahead and merge that dual approach, and it looks like Kevin had a chance to take a look at that too. So I would say also, if we don't, I think the test passed, so if we don't hear from Rob by next week, we should try to merge that either way. And for myself, I was working on shoring up the reliability of the Ansible stuff. When you do an update, can it correctly tear itself down and put the new version up? There were some issues there that had to be resolved. And I'm currently working on collecting all the logs from the different processes using Amazon CloudWatch. And it looks like Francis has some bandwidth to help me out with that, which will be great. I believe that's very close. And so we can do the demo on Friday.
2 things. One is, in case you miss it, there's a demo on Friday at 4 ET. It'll be recorded, so if you can't make it, you can watch it later. And the other thing I just wanted to quickly add was to Dan and Pat, that idea of like somehow being able to just for hack nights deploy one repo and have like, the hooks sort of fake RC data or whatever you want to call it, I think is a great idea, something we should certainly in the long term pursue, because I can also see something where like if you go to hack nights, like someone already knows or is interested in, because our stack is so complicated, if they sort of are interested in React, then it'd be great for them just to download the UI repo without having to deal with the other repos. And similarly, Rails, Python, or whatever, it just limit what they're interested in to, save them all the extra hassle where, they have to install all the stuff, but they would never even touch it or work on it. They just need it something working. So that's another way to think about it.
Yeah, I'm going to keep building on this. I don't know if we want to stop me if I'm dwelling on this point too much, but I think we all think that the Rails piece is approaching stability, and at a certain point that will just be done and boring, and it will work, right? And all the development will go into more interesting differs and more interesting ways to present those differs visually. And when I say more interesting differs, I'm lumping in there all the like long-term moonshot analytical stuff like prioritization and filtering that we've talked about for some time. So it could well be that that the data, to run it against a meaningful corpus of data, you don't want to run the Rails server on your local computer really ever. You always want to be running tests against the production server. So you just install the Python lib or the UI, and you're developing against, making read-only requests against the Rails server, which shouldn't interfere with anything else. Somebody's going to need to have the local DB sometimes, because we're going to need to test write requests, which we obviously don't want to do against our production system. But I think that most of the hack night stuff is going to be on the flashy, I want to use machine learning to save the EPA or whatever, or I want to
do new data visualization of comparison.
Exactly. So there's not really going to be any reason that for somebody who's not already months bought into the project to worry about the Rails piece, one would hope.
Yep, Pat.
I might be missing back scroll, but was there the Mozilla Global Sprint, which we did last year? We got a few people, but it was mostly just our time to like go heads down in like documentation mode. Is that something? I think that's coming up in June. Has there been any conversation about whether we have space for that.
I think it's probably okay to try and tag first-timer contribution issues, but I would sort of lump this in. I think I've heard Rob say something to this effect with the general problem of we really want to invest our time in people who plan to stick around. And I guess eventually you need to attract those people in the first place. But I'm not sure that the sprints have proven to be a great way to do that. But that might just be because our documentation was bad or our model for supporting them wasn't good. Do you, Pat, have any sense of, are those things usually just like a hackathon style drive-by contribution, or is there a way that we could try and leverage it to attract more lasting contributors?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel usually that positive about hackathon models, but because yeah, it is just kind of one-off and people think they're just in for the day. But it does feel like Mozilla's trying to do something different, and they're trying to set the projects up for like finding new contributors and retaining them, and guiding towards that. And I think so. My impression is the people who show up are more inclined to be thinking that way, instead of the hack night, like I'm going for one weekend and then I'm done and I'm going to win a prize or whatever, whatever that motivation is. Yeah, I feel more positively about the global sprint, but I know it's still, maybe there's a better place to find continual, like people who will be consistent.
Yeah, well, I had fun last year. I don't feel it took that much of an investment. So if people were free on the day, I'm going to be at work, so I can drop in maybe for a couple of hours. I don't know if can anyone I guess it comes down to, can anyone commit to being online?
Let me just check the date. Offline. I'm eager to if it doesn't conflict with anything. We did some prep last year, but there doesn't need to be any. We could just drop in and try to make things better as people show up.
Right. Yeah. Let's look into it. Cool. So we have a few minutes. Were there any technical things we wanted to discuss? I know some of the questions were open or for Rob, who's not here. So, but if there's anything else, we can always check in about that stuff. About anything, or get an extra 5 minutes in our lives. Yep, Kevin.
Hey, Dan, about the module situation for the UI project. Do you want to just move forward with that proposal of just moving them all as dependencies, everything but testing modules as dependencies?
Sorry, I was struggling to unmute. Yes, I think so. I think that makes sense. I wish I understood why we do it the way we do it now. Was it just because we were thinking about it too carefully at the time and it worked, or was there some reason that we're now changing?
No, there's no reason.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, okay.
Great. I mean, there's tons of stuff like that in the Python code base as well, to be super clear. I just want to make sure I knew which kind of.
Yeah, I don't think there was any too much rhyme or reason. It just, some things were like, if you're a developer, but then when you're like running it and you need to like build and stuff, you're going to need it on your server. So we can just move it over.
Yeah, nice. Great. Do it and tag me or request review or whatever, and then I'll fix Ansible once it's in.
Okay.
Cool.
Go ahead, Pat.
Just wondering, is there interest, or has there been in the past of like, I'm sure it's all just resources, but like a one-pager site that's not on the Edgy website, that's more like kind of in the control of the team working on it, that can be up, I don't know, like just kind of like less like the GitHub README essentially, but just like something that's a little bit more all under our control.
Yeah, there was talk about a one-pager for the web project, more from like the analyst perspective. And I think there was even a draft of it, but it didn't get, I don't think it ever got published or polished. But nothing specifically for the dev contributor side of it, which could also be interesting. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think I wasn't specifically thinking dev contributor, but I mean, it's something that the devs could take, we could have a part in like feeling direct hands-on, whereas I think we're very close to the Edgy website, but it's also through a few layers of things that don't always feel as accessible to me. But also it would be great like for something like for analysts as well, or like, I don't know how analysts come in or whether there's like interest in having a public facing thing, but yeah, I wouldn't imagine it just being developers. I guess it, you know, it was just asking whether it had been discussed.
Yeah, the analyst thing I think was almost also like just like 10 useful links that every analyst needs. And so usually it's like, they get started and they start asking, where's this and where's this and where's this? And it would just be great just to have like it all on one page. Even if it's like private, like here's the stuff that everyone needs, kind of thing.
Totally, where's those analyst type resources now? Is it just in a Google Doc?
Yeah, basically in Google Docs.
Cool.
Yeah. Move that to a more public, not public, I guess, easily shareable space, or is that?
Yeah, I think that was part of the thing. I think Eric Noss was working on it, but it sort of lost some steam. Something maybe we can revisit.
I can share I don't know if it's a sort of thing that would be of interest, but it's a thing that we're using in the civic tech community to kind of like have the idea. Sorry, I'll drop the link first. Chat is wonky, but I think that worked. Yeah. Let's say, yeah. So it's kind of just the idea is it's like backed by a Google spreadsheet, so it's meant to be really easy for people to drop things into and add resources to. It kind of encourages. I don't know, it just kind of adds little like places for like people to see, oh, I'm like this role, and therefore what are the things that are of interest to me? And it's very intentionally has like a really very flat information hierarchy. So to encourage people to just think, oh, I could drop a thing in here and it would just be another tile. And it's just a way of kind of trying to shift how people are thinking about the set of resources and their capacity to add to it. And it's meant to just like, oh, it can link to Google Docs and it can also link to YouTube videos. It can link to, anyway, just to put it out there. I don't think there's any action item on it right now, but it might be something that could be valuable to like the ways that we see the roles in our in this space, possibly.
Maybe we can make an issue for it and just we'll get to it a little later or when we're ready. But cool. All right, well, we're at 2:30. So thanks, everyone. And I'll see you in Slack or email and the other forums. Great. Or on Friday.
Bye, everyone. Good seeing you guys.
Bye. Yeah, later. Good seeing y'all.
See ya.
Like, no.